Look, it's an old phone. These parts are standard. They'll do the job just fine. Honestly, you should probably just get a new one soon anyway. If you believe our veterans deserve honesty and respect, type owner in the comments. Arthur Jenkins looked at the young technician behind the counter. The man, no older than 25, had a bored look on his face. Arthur clutched his old smartphone. It wasn't new, true, but it had always worked for him. He was a man in his late 60s, with kind eyes and a gentle smile that didn't quite reach them today. He wore a simple, clean windbreaker, and his grey hair was neatly combed. Nothing about him screamed for attention. He was just an ordinary older gentleman. This phone, though, was his lifeline. It held pictures of his grandchildren, their bright, happy faces a constant source of joy. It held the numbers for his doctors at the Veterans Affairs Clinic. And it connected him to his support group, other men who understood what it meant to have served, to have seen things, to carry memories that others didn't. It just started acting up this morning, Arthur explained quietly. The screen kept freezing. The technician, whose name tag read Kevin, sighed dramatically. Yeah, like I said, old phone. The battery is probably shot. Maybe the main board is going. We can try replacing a couple of things, but no guarantees. He said it with a shrug, like it didn't much matter to him either way. Arthur felt a familiar twinge of unease. He didn't like confrontations. He just wanted his phone fixed. How much will it be? He asked. Kevin tapped a few keys on his computer. $150 for the parts and labor, and you pay up front. It was a lot of money for Arthur, who lived on a modest pension, but he needed that phone. All right, he said, pulling out his worn wallet. Please, just do your best. Yeah, we'll get it done, Kevin said, taking the phone and Arthur's money. He disappeared into a back room. Arthur sat on a hard plastic chair in the small waiting area. He watched other customers come and go. He worried. He thought about his time in the service, decades ago. He'd faced real dangers then, relied on his wits and his brothers in arms. This felt different, a small, everyday problem, yet it made him feel strangely helpless. He carried a small, almost invisible pin on the inside of his jacket lapel, a unit insignia, something only another veteran might recognize. After about 20 minutes, which felt like an hour to Arthur, Kevin returned. He held Arthur's phone. All set, he announced, a little too cheerfully. Put in new screen components and a fresh battery connector. Should be good as new, for a while anyway. He handed it over. Arthur took it, relief washing over him. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. He pressed the power button. The screen lit up. It looked fine. Kevin just smirked a little. No problem. Next, he called out, already turning to another customer. He didn't offer a receipt for the specific parts, just the payment. Arthur felt a small knot of gratitude. Maybe he had misjudged the young man. He put the phone carefully in his pocket and walked out of the shop, the bell above the door tinkling softly behind him. He walked down the busy street, heading for the bus stop. He decided to call his daughter, Sarah, to let her know his phone was working again. He'd promised to call her after his VA appointment later that week, and now he could confirm. He pulled out the phone. He pressed her number. Nothing. The screen was black. Utterly, completely black. He pressed the power button. Again. And again. Nothing. His heart sank. It had been working just moments ago in the shop. He'd walked maybe half a block. How long had it been? He glanced at a clock in a bakery window. 4 minutes. 4 minutes since he'd left the repair shop. He felt a cold wave of dismay, then a slow burn of anger. He'd been cheated. That young man hadn't fixed his phone. He'd made it worse. Or perhaps he'd done something dishonest. The casual way Kevin had dismissed him, the insistence on upfront payment, it all felt wrong now. Arthur felt foolish. He felt tired. He was an old soldier, not used to being tricked like this. What could he do? Go back and argue? The thought made him weary. Kevin had already shown he didn't care much. He stood there on the sidewalk, the useless phone heavy in his hand. People bustled past him, lost in their own worlds. He felt very alone. Then he remembered, a small, simple business card tucked into his wallet. It had been given to him at his last Veterans Support Group meeting by Sergeant Major Davies, retired. Davies, a man who still carried an air of command and absolute integrity, ran a small volunteer network to help veterans navigate civilian problems. Call me if you ever hit a rough patch, Arthur. Davies had said, his voice firm but kind. Any kind of rough patch. Arthur fumbled for his wallet. His hands trembled slightly. There it was, the card. He'd have to find a payphone, if those even existed anymore, or ask a shopkeeper to use theirs. He spotted a small cafe across the street. He explained his situation to the kind woman behind the counter, and she let him use the cafe's phone. He dialed the number on the card. Davies, a strong voice answered on the second ring. Sergeant Major Davies, it's Arthur Jenkins, from the support group. Arthur's voice was a little shaky. Arthur, good to hear from you, son. Though you sound a bit troubled, what's going on? Arthur explained everything, calmly and clearly. The old phone, the dismissive technician named Kevin, the $150, the phone dying just 4 minutes after he left the shop. He didn't raise his voice, he just stated the facts. There was a pause on the other end, then Davies spoke, his voice dangerously quiet. That shop, Quick Fix Cellular on Elm Street, you said? Yes, sir, Arthur confirmed. I've heard a whisper or two about them before, nothing solid enough to act on. Until now. Davies' voice firmed up. Arthur, you stay put at that cafe. Don't go back to the shop, I'm on my way. And I'm bringing a friend who knows a thing or two about consumer rights and faulty electronics. Arthur felt a surge of hope. Thank you, Sergeant Major. Thank you. We look after our own, Arthur. Always. The line clicked off. Arthur thanked the cafe owner again and ordered a cup of tea, his hands still shaking a little, but this time with a mix of nerves and anticipation. He waited. It was only about 15 minutes, but it felt longer. He just hoped this wouldn't cause too much trouble. Then, he saw them. A sturdy dark blue car pulled up outside the phone repair shop across the street. Sergeant Major Davies got out of the driver's side. He was a tall, imposing man even in civilian clothes. With him was a woman in a smart business suit, carrying a briefcase. They didn't go into the shop immediately. Davies looked across the street, spotted Arthur in the cafe window, and gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. Then, he and the woman walked purposefully towards the entrance of Quick Fix Cellular. Arthur watched, his heart pounding. Inside the shop, Kevin was leaning on the counter, scrolling through his own phone, looking bored again. The bell above the door jingled, and he looked up, an annoyed expression on his face. Yeah, what can I do for? His voice trailed off as he saw Davies and the woman. Davies didn't waste time. We're here about a phone repaired less than an hour ago. For a Mr. Arthur Jenkins. It failed completely 4 minutes after he left your establishment. Kevin's eyes widened slightly. He tried to regain his composure. Yeah, the old guy with the really old phone. Look, I told him, those things are unpredictable. We put in standard replacement parts. Sometimes they just don't take. He tried for a confident tone, but it wavered. The woman with Davies stepped forward. I'm Maria Sanchez from the City Consumer Protection Bureau, she said, her voice calm but carrying authority. We've had a few informal complaints about this location regarding the quality of standard replacement parts, specifically, that genuine parts are being removed from customer devices and replaced with cheap, often faulty, counterfeits, while the genuine parts are resold. Kevin's face went pale. What? No, we don't do that. That's a lie. Is it? Davies said, his gaze steely. My friend, Mr. Jenkins, is a decorated veteran who served this country for 20 years. He deserves honest treatment, not to be swindled by a cheap crook looking to make a quick buck on used parts. At the mention of decorated veteran, Kevin seemed to shrink. He hadn't seen Arthur as anything but an old man. Just then, the owner of the shop, a Mr. Henderson, came out from the back room, hearing the raised voices. What's all this commotion? He asked, looking flustered. Davies and Ms. Sanchez explained the situation to him. Mr. Henderson listened, his expression growing grimmer by the second. He looked at Kevin, then at the official-looking woman, then at the imposing figure of Sergeant Major Davies. Kevin, Mr. Henderson said, his voice tight with anger, did you swap out Mr. Jenkins' original parts for cheap ones? Kevin stammered. No, I mean, the parts we used were approved. They were standard. Ms. Sanchez spoke. We can have an independent technician examine the phone and the parts you supposedly installed right now, Mr. Henderson. and we can check your inventory and sales records for high-value original parts that might have been salvaged. Kevin looked like he was about to be sick. He avoided Mr. Henderson's furious glare. The truth came tumbling out. Kevin admitted he'd been swapping good parts from repairs with cheap ones and selling the originals online for extra cash. He thought no one would notice, especially with older phones. Mr. Henderson looked horrified and deeply embarrassed. He turned to Sergeant Major Davies. "Sir, I am so incredibly sorry. This is beyond unacceptable." He then faced Kevin, his face like thunder. "You're fired, Kevin, effective immediately. Get your things and get out. And you can be sure I'll be cooperating fully with Ms. Sanchez's investigation." Kevin, white-faced and trembling, practically ran to the back room. Mr. Henderson then insisted on coming over to the cafe with Davies. He apologized profusely to Arthur, his face flushed with shame. "Mr. Jenkins, I can't tell you how sorry I am. There's no excuse for this. Please, allow me to make it right." Arthur, who had watched the entire exchange from the cafe window, was quiet for a moment. He just nodded. Mr. Henderson not only refunded Arthur's $150 but insisted on giving him a brand new smartphone, top of the line, free of charge. He helped Arthur transfer his contacts and photos from his old phone's memory card. He also gave him a voucher for free accessories and a lifetime discount at his store, promising that new training and oversight procedures would be implemented immediately. As Arthur was leaving with Sergeant Major Davies, his new phone safely in his pocket, Mr. Henderson said, "Mr. Jenkins, thank you for bringing this to our attention. You've helped us root out a problem we didn't know was this bad." The story did get out. Ms. Sanchez's office issued a consumer alert, and the local veterans newsletter ran a piece on it, praising Sergeant Major Davies' network and reminding businesses to treat all customers, especially veterans, with fairness and honesty. Arthur was just glad to have a working phone. He was a quiet hero, not looking for praise, but he was pleased that justice had been done, not just for him, but for anyone else who might have been tricked. He knew the importance of good people standing up when things went wrong. What happened to Arthur was wrong, but because he knew who to call, and because people were willing to help, things were made right. If you believe that a person's integrity is more important than a quick profit, share this story. Remember, respect and honesty are values we should all uphold. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories where the right thing wins in the end.